Hello and welcome to another speed drawing. As usual, I'm starting out with just a very basic red brush. I use red just because a lot of the time it stands out to the other colors I'm using, but today my palette actually has quite a bit of red in it because I'm drawing somebody with red lipstick on biting into a strawberry. This is based off a reference image I found on Google. I just wanted to do something fun with this little palette, and the very first thing I thought of when I saw that red was strawberries. So, right now I'm drawing the leaves on the strawberries. They were kind of difficult and weird. Like, strawberries, I don't know if you've ever really thought about the way their leaves look, but they look super strange and kind of more round than you would imagine. If I were to do this drawing again, I think I would have given her like very long acrylic nails, because she seems like the kind that would have long acrylic nails. As for the seeds, right now I'm just sort of throwing them on there. I don't even know why I sketched the seeds. I don't do anything with them. Just tightening up the straight shape of that strawberry a little bit. And I'm using one of the default brushes on Photoshop, but not a default round. Something that has just a little bit more give at the end of the brush, a little bit more of a point. And I love doing artwork that has colored line art. I think it's so much fun. It gives it such a visual interest. I do try and give her two teeth in the front, but in the end I think that having just one straight white looks better. I'm not going for realism here, so stylizing her teeth in the strawberry a little bit is I guess fun is the word I'm looking for. And I'm really having a struggle getting that line right there. I think something that I really like to do, that I kind of vaguely struggle with, is getting super clean, super straight lines. And I don't think it's really that important. A lot of artists I really like have kind of shaky-ish or like stylistic line art, but I like mine to be super, super smooth and commercial looking. And here I am going in with the leaves, just trying to make them look a little bit more full and have a little bit more depth than just plain leaf shapes. There would be, a variety of different shapes of the leaves. And I do end up switching up some of the positions of the leaves a little bit. Those nails and that line for that finger were especially hard to get. I had to come back and forth with them. This drawing took me about an hour, by the way, no breaks. I was just drawing while listening to a podcast. It was very nice. And so next I'm gonna go in with the color, I think. Oh, I'm trying to thin out my lines because some of them are thicker than others. And when you go for a style that has really thin, smooth lines, those thick lines look way, way out of shape. I think my drawing would take a little less time if I didn't enjoy coloring so much. The coloring is one of my favorite parts of the drawing, so I tend to do it by hand, even though I very much could just go in with a fill bucket and get this done in half the time, or, even less. But there is something very fun about coloring it myself. I'm only using 5 colors in this drawing. 6, I guess, if you include white, but I do end up cheating out a little bit by using a multiply layer later on, because I wanted the lips to be darker, feel a little bit more sultry, but I still wanted to have that shading and depth in her mouth. I didn't have a green in this palette, so I actually did the leaves of the strawberry yellow, and I like how it looks against that sort of that pale red. I think it's a really nice combination of colors. And the fact that it's not green is kind of interesting. It's a little bit different. At some point, I end up accidentally getting on the wrong layer while I'm coloring, so I have to go back and fix a little bit of that, which is something I have a problem with. Oh, the seeds on the strawberry, I wasn't quite sure how to do them because I didn't want to put a ton of effort in, so I just did these little yellow dots and then a dash of the darker color across to make it look kind of like they're embedded in the strawberry skin. I think the overall effect was not bad. I think it gave the illusion of a strawberry with seeds. Moving on to the shading on a different layer. And I start with the leaves. And initially I'm just kind of shading wherever. And I don't know why I wasn't thinking about it. I'm just like, yeah, this seems right. Shade here, shade there. But I actually had to stop and think because it looked a little off to me about where my light source actually was. So I do all this shading and I end up going back and changing it because none of it is correct. I decided the lighting is definitely coming from like at least the front part of the strawberry, maybe a little bit to the bottom. So I end up trying to make the shading more consistent, and I think it ended up pretty consistent after that. Adding a little bit of shine on these nails and shading on the fingers, again trying to keep it consistent to where the light source is, now that I've actually decided I have one, instead of just drawing wherever. I did use the fill bucket there for a second because I wanted to change the color of the lips, as I said, to something a little bit darker, a little bit more sultry, because right now it's kind of like the pose is sexy but the coloring is kind of innocent. So I go back on a oh no, I can't remember the name for that, a layer on top to color the line art layer. Dang it, what is that? And then I cheat out and use a multiply layer with the darkest color to get a different color on that. So I did actually use 6-ish colors instead of the 5 here. Just adding some shading on those lips there to make them a little bit more three-dimensional. I did struggle with this a little bit because I don't often see the inside of someone's mouth. But I think I ended up with it looking alright. And then just sort of a basic shading on the face, nothing too interesting. Of course, the bright highlights. I was watching a video of somebody watercolor painting a strawberry recently, and I did this drawing quite a while ago, all the way back in January. But I saw the way that they shaded, that they did the highlights on the strawberry, and it was so interesting. And I thought to myself, you know, why didn't I look up how to actually shade a strawberry? Because I just do those blanket dashes of white. But actually, like, shading a small circle around the seeds makes it look so interesting and adds like a layer of realism that I wasn't really like expecting to see in that watercolor drawing. They did it with gouache. It was so interesting. I think it was Mark Crilly. Anyway, I just thought of this drawing and thought, well, what would I do differently? I'd probably try that strawberry shading trick. I wanted to add a background here, but I didn't want it to be, you know, too complicated. So I did these little dots, and then I thought that they were standing out way too much in comparison with the rest of the drawing. So I tried a bunch of stuff. I tried desaturating them, because that's usually what I do with the backgrounds. But the gray sort of just looked really bad with the reds and the pinks of the skin. So eventually, after playing around with it a lot, I decided to lighten it, but also increase the saturation. And that's it. I signed it. I'm done. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day and all that jazz.